Okay, today is Sunday, March 31st. It is the 31st day of my detox here. So, I guess this would technically be the end, but I don't know that it really is. So, when I started this detox, the whole point was, number one, change some habits. Number two, just clean up my body a little bit. And I've done, I think, both of those. It hasn't been perfect, and honestly, it never really is. So, could never really totally get off coffee. Back to about 1 cup a day. And this past weekend, spent some time with my daughter. Went to Tomahawk Restaurant, and there I had some pancakes, which I didn't even notice was on the menu on my breakfast, but okay, so there we go. So haven't had that for a while. Had a burger that night at the casino. So it hasn't been perfect, right? So especially this past weekend, it was just, we were trying to enjoy ourselves, and so there was that, but at the same time, like I've said in previous videos here, I didn't want to get to the point where I can't enjoy myself. My whole goal is to really save money and do the kinds of things and enjoy time with the people I love and I care about. And so where I wanted to change some habits was more when I'm by myself, whether it's before or after work, at work, on my days off, just the default habit of going to sit at a coffee shop, or that's basically the main thing, right? And then the sweets that come with it. So so that's sort of the downside is, if you want to call it cheating, fair enough, right? But I think what I look at it is, I've made a point, and I've find myself saying this now, that this is every day. If I'm going to change some habits, it's going to be every day, where I'm just driving around, or I'm waking up, or after work, whatever it is, and just remind myself as I'm heading towards Starbucks, or when I feel jonesing for like a muffin or whatever, and just remind myself that yes, this is going to be every day, that I'm going to get these cravings and these urges, and I need to just realize it's completely natural, and it's going to be something I'll have to deal with. So, and that's okay. I'll just accept that and move on. And I think I've had that attitude for most of the month, and it's sort of worked out well. In that I'll realize it, and then I'll just move on, and if I really need a coffee, then I'll just go and make my coffee, or I'll go to McDonald's to get a cheap coffee. A few times where I've had, like I really need something sweet, okay, fine, let's go to Tim Hortons, we'll get the cheap coffee, and we'll get the cheapest frickin' donut, and then as soon as I've done that, I'm realizing, well, that went right through me, right? So logically, I know that those are basically useless. And so at least as I'm quote unquote caving, and thankfully I think I can count on 5 fingers or less this month where that happened. And I'm not spending a ton of money on that kind of stuff. So that a couple of the habits that have changed, I think, pretty clearly is just one. So maybe not totally changed, but they're going in the right direction. But number one is taking time and just remembering that it's something that I'm going to have to be mindful of every day, and not to expect that anything's magically changed just because I adjusted my diet or what have you for a month. So there's that. Number two, I think obviously the amount of money I spent. So I think if I looked last time, which was a day or two ago, I'd spent $35 to $40 this month at coffee shops on any kind of coffee and treat. And I don't think that really changed a whole lot in the last couple of days here. So, and that's a far cry from the $350 that would normally be something I spend on. So um, that's a good sign, right? That's a really good sign. And there's been lots of times where I've been done work. What do? I've got a few hours to kill. I don't have to make food. I don't really have any chores to do. Maybe it's crappy weather. I don't really feel like going outside and doing something. So I've just, you know what? Let's go home, or let's just grab some Sudoku, make some tea, and sit. And especially, that's the thing with me. I've drank way more tea than I ever have, at least for a long time. And it's been more successful than I thought. So an herbal tea every time. I did start with some tea that was kind of caffeinated, I think chai tea, but I switched quickly just to have herbal tea, and haven't really noticed a difference. So this morning, I had the medium McDonald's coffee, but the goal is now, again, just keep doing this where I come back, I'll make some tea later in the office, and then after work, I'll probably make some tea again or whatever, or maybe not, who knows. So I've been pretty happy with that. And things like we're now going to move in about a month, and the rent will go up. So if I want to continue to do the things I want to do and go and plan trips or outings, it's going to have to be much longer than a month. That kind of money that I save and those kind of choices that I make can't simply be as automatic, because clearly there's a benefit to me taking the time, and I've seen it. And being able to go out and do the things I want and notice that I can still pay all the bills, I can still save money, we can still take on extra rent. That's the direction I want to go in. And so this is going to be a lot of work, but I think we're going to continue this. So I always put an end date on my detox. So in this case, it was March 1st. And the end was March 31st. In reality, I kind of started the middle of February because I was weaning myself off. And I'm going to try, let's just go one more month, and we'll go to the end of April. And we'll kind of look at it then. So for me, that includes no alcohol, and that's not really an issue. Again, if I can say no coffee, I would love to. That's always the goal. The reality is if I can keep it to one a day. And, if I'm going to have that, maybe it's the one I make at home. I think that would be the perfect scenario for me. If I have none, that would be better. The less I have, the easier it is for me to cut it out of my diet on a particular day. So, and then the sweets. I think if I don't go into these coffee shops, and I think that's one thing I want to continue, is not going into the big coffee shops with their very expensive treats. That's really worked well for me. And I'm really seeing that there's sort of a revulsion or a disgust in what I've done to make that happen, right? So if I'm going to have coffee, it's going to be the quick coffee. And that forces me to figure out what to do better with my time as well. So this is the end, but it's also another beginning here. So, and I think I'm going to look at it that way. So tomorrow's April 1st, and I think we'll just go through it from that. I did plan on celebrating tomorrow, if I did okay, and that was to go do one trip to Cafe Artigiano, have their wonderful Americano, along with a butter croissant. And then maybe I'll just leave that as a last little thing, saying, okay, well, that's one little short-term win. Let's make it in another month here. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to enjoy it, and then hopefully leave it behind again for another month. So we'll see. I think I'll probably try and post these things. I don't know if anyone ever watches these, but I think for myself that's not totally the point. I think it's just feeling that I put it out there and someone could see it, and it's almost like that's kind of helping keeping me at least a little bit more honest. Who knows? I'm sure some sort of psychologist could weigh in on that. But even just once a week or twice a week, I think that's what I've found, because there's not a whole lot of change in what I do, but sometimes there's some important updates, or how I tackle certain situations. And I'd love to hear from other people and how they sort of handle the same thing. And if coffee is not your thing, then maybe something else is. And these little strategies, all helpful. So, anyways, again, way too long with my little videos here, but a lot to say at the end of the month here. So we'll leave it at that. Bye for now.